All right. Welcome, y'all. Welcome, y'all. Welcome, y'all. Welcome, y'all. Welcome, y'all. Welcome. Welcome to the very first official episode of the Rolling with Davo podcast. I am your host, Rolling with Davo. We are recording this on, what is this, Monday, June 17th? Monday, June 17th. Um, I wanted to do this little introductory episode, man, just to talk to y'all, man, and let y'all know what I was all about, what the pod is all about, man. You can kind of relax, let y'all know how relaxed I really can be on this pod. I can be relaxed, 'cause I don't know what. Just to let y'all know that right now. But yeah. So before we got the guests and we get all the special guests that I'm trying to get to come in on it, the people I'm trying to get to talk to y'all a little bit. Some people I want y'all to know, some things I want y'all to know. I think that I come in here and make sure I let y'all know exactly who I was and what the pub was about, man. So that's what we doing. You feel me? So today I'm just gonna introduce myself to y'all. I am Davo. Rolling with Davo podcast came was a brainchild of mine for real. It was another name before it was Rolling with Davo. It was that ain't important, but it was another name before it was Rolling with Davo. I decided to rename it to Rolling with Davo because it just fit. It fit my lifestyle. Me being a disabled adult male in a wheelchair and all that, and everybody's always playing on the fact, oh, you're in a wheelchair, you're in a wheelchair, you're in a wheelchair. If y'all knew how many times I hear that a day, like on social media and shit. Oops. Can I say that on here? I think I can say that on here. Anyway, yeah. If y'all knew how many times I hear that a day and I get sick of hearing it, like I'm so sick of hearing, you're in a wheelchair. I know. I've been in it for 33 years. I know. But yeah. So it was really a play off of that. It was a play off the fact that people kept saying it, and it just fit me very well. It was my way of embracing my whole situation and trying to, make something work with it, make something shake with it. I think it was very unique. I hope y'all do too. Um, yeah. So it was a play off of that. And one day I was just chilling, I had started streaming already. And I was streaming and I came up with the idea of starting a pod. I felt like everybody, has a pod now. Like everybody has something to say. But you don't really hear like a lot of normal folks. You feel me? Like the average folks with any type of different content. Like most people have the same type of content, just geared in different ways. I felt like my content and what I was gonna be saying on the pod was gonna be very unique because of my situation, and that was my reason for saying, "Oh, let's go start a pod." So, welcome to it. Yeah, like I said, so I was born um with a condition called cerebral palsy. That is a brain injury that happens during the time of birth, y'all. I'm not paralyzed. I'm not none of that stuff. And if any of y'all want to say that in the comments or want to ask in the comments, I'm telling y'all now, just so y'all know, we are going to have a lot of discussion on disabilities and the downfalls and pitfalls of disabilities, the wins, the losses, all the differences when it comes to being disabled on the pod and later episodes. So I hope y'all stick through on that, man. But yeah, just to give y'all a little bit more general about me today. Um, yeah, like so, I was born with cerebral palsy. I was always a great talker, man. Like I always feel like, and people told me that like I was like way ahead of my time in my thinking process. Like I had an old soul type stuff, and I was always a good talker. I was always great at advice and all that. So one day I was like, yeah, let's just start a pod. Let's see where we can go with it. You never know what can happen. Anybody's blowing up off of these things. Like I said, there's millions of podcasts now. Wrestlers got podcasts, singers got podcasts, actors got podcasts. Why not me? You feel me? So yeah. So I was born with cerebral palsy. I was actually 3 months earlier. Like I was 2 pounds 2 ounces when I was born. Like I was 2 pounds 2 ounces. I could have fit in the palm of somebody's hand. Matter of fact, I think I did. And I always remember the story that my grandmother told me, right, about how I was born. And she was at Mardi Gras, right? And she came back home. She called back home, right? She called back home, and I forget. I think she called one of my cousins or something, and she's like, "Hey, what's going on?" Da, 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 da. And they're like, "Hey, grandma." And she's like, "Grandma." She's like, "Yeah, you know, the baby was born yesterday or last night or the day or whatever." Because you know, back then they didn't have cell phones. Yeah, I'm not old. I remember when they didn't have cell phones, and they damn sure ain't have them when I was born. But yeah, they like, "Hey, grandma." She's like, "Grandma." Yeah, you know, the baby was born, so she comes back home and all that. But that's a story for a different day. We gonna get deeper into that later on. But yeah. So I lost both of my parents at a young age. Um, I never really lost like a motivation for like life, man. And that's the whole premise of what I want to come on this part and try to tell y'all, and you know, help other people understand that you never really lose a premise for, no matter what the situation is, you never really lose like your purpose. Your purpose is always going to be there. You might not always know what that purpose is, where you're going with it at times, because I've had times where I don't know where I'm going in life, where I feel like it's just confusing as I don't know what. You feel me? But I never really lost a purpose for like wanting to live life. You feel me? Like I always felt like life was like this great gift. You feel me? Because I didn't have to be here. You feel me? So it was like the fact that I'm here, clearly I'm here for a reason. That's how I always looked at it. Clearly I have a purpose. Clearly I have a voice to share with people. I have knowledge to share with people. And one of the main reasons why I wanted to start the pod was to share my gift with y'all, man, because I feel like everybody should share their gift. Everybody should share their gift. I think that our main focus and purpose in life should always be to better the world. You feel me? Like it's a cold, cold world. You can't fix the whole thing. You can't fix the whole world. Not one person can do that. But we all had this little piece in time and in life that we're supposed to give to the world to make it a better place, in my opinion, man. And I feel like no matter what your story is and what your motivation behind life is and what all of that is, I think it's always great to like just live in your purpose. And my purpose was to show like that that there's no such thing as normal in my opinion. I always say that there's no such thing as normal. Like, cause what is really the definition of what normal is? I feel like everybody has their sense of normal. My sense of normal is the fact that I'm a 34-year-old male, or almost 34-year-old male with cerebral palsy, and I'm independent, and I get around, and I have a voice, and I can talk, and I can advocate, and I can do all of those things. There's people that might can't advocate as good as me, you feel me? But they have a purpose too. Like everyone has a purpose on the earth, you know. So I feel like there's no such thing as normal. When people be like, "Oh, well, he's not normal," like nobody's normal because we're all different, right? That's just all I, you know. That's how I look at life. So yeah, getting back to the story at hand. Yeah, I'm gonna do a lot of that drifting stuff because I do that. Like I'll get on one thing and then I'll just start talking and you know. But getting back to the story at hand. I was born prematurely. I was 2 pounds 2 ounces when I was born, y'all. I lost both of my parents at a very young age. If y'all notice, y'all see me wearing this chain right here. This is my mommy. I wear my mommy every single day. Yes, I do. I never take it off. She's always with me. Um, because that's who brought me here, man. Like at the end of the day, my mother had her demons, but she was always my mother. You feel me? So I always respect her for the fact of no letting me know that I can be the best version of me and that was enough. She never made me feel like I was less than. You feel me? She never made me feel like I wanted to look at myself as less than. I was always great in her eyes, no matter what her life situation was. She always made sure that I was great. and I felt great, and I felt like my big, and I felt like that was great. So I appreciate her for that. You know, my father too. Like my father passed at a young age. I was about 5 or so, but so I never really knew who he was. Like not personally, I heard stories and all of that, but I never really knew who he was, man. But I always was grateful for the fact that I felt this peaceful and okay with the situation that I was given from a very young age, from the very beginning of time. You feel me? Like from the very beginning of anytime I can remember, I never felt like jilted out or something, or like I lost anything. I always felt like it was a blessing that regardless of what the situation was, I was still I was still here. You know, um, yeah. So fast forward and past all that. Lost both of them at a young age. Um, was truthfully and honestly raised by one of the greatest grandmothers I can ever ask for, man. Like my grandmother is awesome. She was awesome. She is awesome. She will continue to be awesome because raising me, and I tell her this all the time, was never an easy task. She did a great job with it. She made me want to be as independent as I am right now. I was never a lazy kid. Like anybody will tell you that. I never. Maybe it was the fact that I never really looked at myself as like a disabled kid or something. Like, and it's no shot to nobody disabled. I love everyone disabled. You are strong individual warriors, but I never felt as though I was different. So because I never felt as though I was different, it was like I always wanted to do more. Always wanted to prove more or something like that. Like I always had more to prove, not necessarily to nobody else, but to myself. Like it was all about me proving it to myself. Every single milestone that I can tell you that I accomplished in life was about proving it to myself and the fact that I could do it. And I knew I could do it. And I knew I was strong enough to handle anything that God threw at me because, of course, it's God. He threw it at me. He threw it at me for a reason. And I knew I could handle it, right? So it was more about that than anything. But yeah, getting back to her, she is the greatest grandmother you could ever ask for, man. Like even to this day, like she's still my biggest, biggest, biggest hero, biggest supporter, biggest everything. Like I owe everything to that woman. You get me? Like I owe everything to that woman, every single thing. But yeah, she raised me from I guess about 5 or so. My mother got in a little bit of trouble with life, with addiction and all that other type of stuff. And my grandmother took me and she raised me, and she obviously raised me to be a great man. Um, yeah, man, like those times growing up, man, was so crazy, bro. Like there was so many things, bro, that happened in my childhood. It was like wild. The stuff that I saw at the age of whatever age you can think of was like stuff you would never want an 11 and 12-year old to see. But we got through it, man. Like being a kid that grows up with a parent that has an addiction is like it's real difficult because you see them battling that addiction every single day, man. And then you get angry because then it's like I remember at one point I like got angry like, well, if I'm seeing this and I'm telling you, like I was always a very adaptable and adult like kid as a kid, man, because I knew everything, right? Because I was always around everything to see everything, and I always like was able to have conversations about the adult stuff I saw going around me, right? So it's like when I'm telling you as your kid, like, hey, don't you think you want to stop that? Like, don't you think you want to stop doing this and you want to stop doing that? and it doesn't happen, it's like, yo, so my word didn't mean anything to you. Like me coming to you and asking you as your kid to stop didn't mean anything. That wasn't enough. Like that wasn't enough for you to be like, okay, my kid wants me to do this. I'm gonna do it. And I think that's how I felt then. Of course, now I'm older and wiser. I know that addiction is addiction, and you know you're gonna go through addiction. You feel me? Like I think God itself could probably tell some people about addiction, and it wouldn't make them stop. You feel me? So I understand that now, but back then it was like, wow. So this ain't gonna make you stop. I'm not gonna make you stop. I'm not enough to make you stop as your kid. And I know a lot of kids and a lot of adults now probably went through those type of things and seen those type of things. And I'm pretty sure a lot of y'all probably felt exactly how I feel, man. Like it's rough. It's rough. Like of course I was kind of sheltered. I was in the house all the time. I never really did much anything. But because I'm not gonna say I didn't do anything. I'm not gonna say that. Let me take that back because if my grandmother listened to this before, she's gonna say, "But we did a lot. I made sure you did everything you wanted to do." She did. But I mean, as far as the street life, like and knowing what the street life was, all I knew at a young age was what I saw in the house because like I was never in the streets. Still don't know nothing about the streets. Like I probably know more about the streets now than I did then. But I was never a street dude. You feel me? Like I wasn't a street dude at all. Never wanted to be. Still don't want to be. Hallelujah. But yeah. So I never really knew anything except for what I saw, and what I saw was just it was difficult. And it's crazy because I have these conversations with my friends all the time, right? About how I think we grew up in an era where it was there, but we didn't know it. Like it would have been right in front of us, but we didn't see it. So even though I saw it and I knew exactly what it was, to me it was such an isolated incident because it's like I didn't know about a lot of people doing a lot of drugs back then. Like it was like, of course I knew my parent did, but I didn't want to tell nobody about my parent because I just assumed that almost nobody else's parent was doing that. Like, hey, your parent don't get high, do they? Like, I know yours don't. Like, and when I say that, I'm not talking about recreational drugs. I'm talking about the hard stuff. So I'm pretty sure a lot of y'all parents probably was using recreational drugs, and y'all know what I'm saying when I say recreational drugs. But mine was on hard stuff, so it was like, yo, I'm not telling nobody that. So like when you really sit back and think, when I really sit back and think about how I used to go to school, and it was like I never told people that like that was going on at home. Like, don't get me wrong, it wasn't a bad household because I was raised perfectly. Like I told you, man, I probably should have been spoiled in my brain, but I never was. I mean, I knew growing up that I could get whatever I really wanted, but I never really asked for it because I guess I always grew up with the thing of like, don't ask for too much because you're already getting everything. Like you're already getting everything that I felt like I should have because I was being raised great, man. Like I said, I knew that it was hard on the person that raised me to raise me. Like I knew that I was loved, right? But I also knew that it was like hard as hell, and it was like there's nothing I could do to fix that because I couldn't change who I was. I couldn't change what the situation was. I wasn't angry about it, but I also knew it was like you don't never want to put too much of a burden on a person that's taking care of you or raising you or nothing like that. So I never wanted to like put too much of a burden and be like, hey, da 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 da, or hey, da 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 da. It was like I'm being raised, I'm being taken care of, and I'm so grateful for that. That to me that was enough, right? So it was like I never really. complain much. Like it wasn't a big deal to me for the stuff that I never had because I knew I could have got whatever I wanted, but I didn't want to keep asking because it was like, hey, ain't I'm asking for enough. But anyway, um, yeah. So going to school and stuff was like, I'm not telling nobody that. I'm not gonna tell anybody that my mother has a drug problem. I'm not gonna tell anybody that my father had a drug problem. I'm not gonna tell people that because it's like, to me, nobody else was really doing it because we were so sheltered growing up, bro. Like, I think that was just that generation, right? Like, I'm not even gonna say we were sheltered. I think the generation was just so more secretive. Like now, everything is so out there, right? Like everything is so, hey, look at me. It's right here in front of your face. That this generation knows more about things than we knew at 5 years old now than we knew at 5 years old then. Like 5 year old kids didn't know about that type of stuff. They didn't know about drugs and stuff back in our day. At least I didn't think they did. Because I didn't hear anything about it. Now everybody knows. Like it's it's crazy. So I never wanted to like go and tell people like, yeah, my mother had a drug problem. My father had a drug problem. My mother is in a domestic abusive relationship. Um, I just always smiled, like I always, and I don't know if it was really burying it or it was just got to the point that it got so normal that it was normal, right? So yeah, I never really told people about that. Um, and it's crazy because talking about it now is like crazy that it lets you know how much trauma you just deal with as a kid or you deal with as an adult that you never really talk about, right? So it's like it's crazy that now that would be considered trauma and somebody would be like, oh, you need to go talk to somebody. But back then it was like that wasn't trauma for me. It was just normal. It was okay. And I think that now, looking back on me now, I think that it made me very jaded to certain situations. Like it made me very tough to certain situations. Like you telling me that this happened to you and you upset about this and da, 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 but that ain't got nothing on what I went through. So and I know that's wrong to say. I know that's wrong to say. I know that's wrong to say. But that's just how I looked at life, right? But anyway, yeah. So after that, like I said, after the age of 11, once my mother passed, like of course my grandmother was still raising me, making sure I went to school, make sure I had clothes, phones, shoes, all of that stuff. But I always had this whole mindset of I wanted to have everything for myself, right? Like I wanted to get to the point that I could pay back to me the gift of my grandmother raising me. Like I'm still feel like that. Like I always wanted to pay her back the gift of what she did for me, right? So I always had this mindset of the minute that I can get myself together, if I can get out on my own and I can be more independent and I can show my independence. It's like showing her that you did your job and then was my turn to take care of myself, right? So around the age of 20, um I started wanting to like live independently, right? And I know it's a lot of people that be like, it's crazy to think that I actually live independently. I do. I live completely independently on my own apartment, my name, all of that. Like, yeah, all of that. Since 20, I'm 33 now, so that was 13 years ago. Um, and I've been doing it ever since. That ain't been easy either. Like, there's stories of that too. But yeah, it was, and that was mainly because like I knew that my grandmother was gonna eventually get up in age, just like she is right now. And it was like I wanted to prepare myself to like be ready to like take over when I had to take over. I wanted to be able to take care of myself because I didn't want her to feel like she had to take care of me for the rest of my life. And not only that, I knew she couldn't, right? You feel me? Like she raised me, she took care of mother, she raised my mother. She battled cancer. Yes, it's so many stories. Like just getting into just the fact of talking about my grandmother gives me so many stories. Like it's so crazy to think that like when I was 5 or 6 years old and I had to go to school and there was no bus, no equipped bus to come and pick me up and take me to school. And my grandmother was literally raising me, taking care of her sick mother, who was eventually dying of hospice. Making sure I went to have 2 surgeries. They kept me in the hospital for months. Um, Making sure I went to school, and at one point battling her own form of cancer that was a terminal sentence, bro. Like to think of the sheer will of that woman, just it makes me so grateful and so appreciative and all of that, man. Like anyway, I ain't gonna get into much of that because it'll probably make me emotional, and I ain't trying to get emotional in here. But anyway, so um, yeah, I moved out when I was 20. I've had my own place since I was 20, and I'm relatively okay, man. I'm relatively okay with like being me, being me. I find myself more and more every single day. I'm so grateful to the friends and the family and the people that I actually know, the people that are actually here and have my back, and always looking to make more friends, man. Like always willing to open the door to someone who wants to be a genuine friend. There's not a lot of those people out in the world today, but there are still here. So I'm always open to like making new friends. I'm hoping that y'all here, y'all people watching, will come and watch and listen to my stories, and hopefully y'all enjoy it, man. Like we got a lot of guests coming up. I'm trying to book guests as we speak. Like we got a lot of good interviews coming up, a lot of musical people. We got life coaches and mental health experts coming on. We got a disability panel, a round table, whatever you want to call it, coming on. Um, and other than that, man, like we're just gonna be talking a lot of breeze. We're gonna be talking a lot of stuff, man. I'm gonna get your opinions on these episodes, man. Make sure y'all comment, share, like, and subscribe to the Rolling with Davo podcast. Like I said, this was just a little something to let y'all know who I was, how we gonna be running this thing, how it's gonna be going. I was checking the timestamp, my bad, y'all. But how it's gonna be going, how we gonna be running this thing, and I sincerely hope that y'all continue to decide to roll with Devo. Um, have a great morning. And to everybody watching this episode right about now, if you're still watching right now, mama, we made it. A surprise. I got y'all niggas. Y'all didn't see this shit coming, did you? You ain't see it coming, did you? But yeah. Welcome to episode 1. Stay tuned. New episodes should be starting to come out on Fridays. That's the day I'm trying to do it. Like I said, I did this for an intro just to see what was up. So I'm gonna post this today. Um, Whether we gonna have a new episode on Friday or not depends on if I can get a guest on or not on Friday. That will probably be a live episode. Make sure y'all follow me on all social media and streaming platforms listed in the description below. And like I said, man, it is a pleasure to start this journey with y'all, man. And I cannot wait to see where we go. And guess what, y'all? And guess what? I'm out.